Okay, so I'm going to pick out a log. Probably going to just use some basswood. I need to mill up some wood so I can create some faux shutters, you know, the shutters that aren't actually functional but make the house look good. Of course, I'll prime them and paint them and everything. Basswood's not the best for outside, but it's light, it's easy to work with, and properly treated, it'll last. So I'll take you along and we'll pick out a log together, we'll put it on the sawmill, and we'll start milling it up. I got a couple beams that I got to move and then we'll put on the sawmill, but right now all I have on the back is my landscape rake, so I don't have a lot of counter or ballast. But thank goodness that basswood's been sitting for quite some time. It's actually pretty light. Okay, now I'm just gonna raise up these log stops because that log's pretty big. I don't want it flying off. This is what I use to remove the bark. I had one before and I busted it. Actually, I busted it down in the woods. I had it in this cavity of my loader and there's just enough sticking out where I caught a tree. I believe it was this part. And it snapped off and went flying. I have yet to find the actual steel part. So I recently purchased a new one. I don't know if I'll take the bark off of this, but we'll see how it comes off. It's a fairly clean tree, and that's the main purpose taking the bark off, is if you drug it up, you got a bunch of rocks and dirt in there, you don't want to dull up your blade, but this one's pretty clean, so we'll assess it once I get on the mill. Okay, that was pretty easy. I've got an old car jack here that I use to raise the low end if it's significant. This one's not big difference, but may raise it a little bit and then secure it and stuff. But this is pretty much the extent of my mill. I've got the HM 130 max, so it says up to 30 inches, but usually around 29. So it's on there now, and I don't see any rot in this one. Maybe a little down here in the pith area, but I'm not after the pith anyways. So I'm just gonna kind of get it all secure now. I just eyeball it. I don't put a level on there or anything. This is not exact science. I'm not machining anything. And that looks pretty good. There, she's all secure and ready to be milled. I'm probably going to eat some dinner first. Let it cool down. Hoping the sun gets past these trees. I'll be back around 5:30, 6 o'clock, and I'll definitely bring you back. I don't know if I'll mill up this whole log. We'll see how it goes. Like I said, kind of on a time crunch. I wanted to get these shutters done by this weekend, and it's Wednesday already. So, okay, I'm gonna get some dinner. I'll bring you back when we start milling. Well, good morning. I decided to come call it a night last night. So it's the next morning. I'm gonna start milling this up. Like I said, I don't know if I'll do the whole thing. I'm gonna see how this blade is. It's very soft wood, so if I get away with just using this blade, I'm going to. But if it struggles on me, then I'll go ahead and change it out. And I'll show you how I go about that process too. But for now, I'm just going to kind of get into it. So I'm going to put you on time lapse. Okay, yeah, the blade's pretty dull. I'm going to get past this first cut and change her out. But I ran into the log here, so I got to get the chainsaw and cut that off too. So I'll bring you back when I go to change the blade. Okay, got all the way through. I'm going to go ahead and change the blade on this side of the log. Then I'll take you back and I'll show you what I cut off. So like I said, I have the Woodland Mills HM130 Max. I really like this. And I don't have a lot of experience with other sawmills. The only other one I know about is the Pioneer. So my buddy has one of them, and we set it all up, and it seemed to cut fine too. I think a lot of these hobby mills are the same. There's certain things like, you know, the bunks. Mine came with the stainless steel shields kind of already installed. So that was one less thing, but I don't know, you know, the instruction book was 40-50 pages long, but I certainly appreciate that. For the most part, I put this all together. The power head was somewhat assembled. I had to put the lube tank together, and then the nylon shims, but the track was the hardest part. I just made myself a jig, and I got this all assembled and on my platform in one day. There was really no choice. I was so excited that I was going to get it done. I would say a total assembly probably took me 4 to 6 hours. Excuse me, 4 to 6 hours, because I took lunch in between there, and I was cutting that day. And I started off with some just cedar, kind of softwood, see how that felt. Then I went up to some oak, a little slower, and I'm just going with their standard blades. I guess mainly I have a lot of hardwood, but this is definitely soft. This is by far the softest I have. This is basswood, and I could cut more with this blade. I just don't want to push the motor much too hard. So anyways, I'll change this. I'll walk you through it in case anybody's looking to purchase a hobby mill. I think this is a little more heavy duty than most hobby mills. Like, I would never, you know, compare this to like the Harbor Freight mill. Of course, the prices aren't the same too. So let's get into it. So there's 3 of these latches, one up top and one on each side on the bottom, and then a knob right here that screws in, screws out. Make sure you're mindful where you put this. I've definitely dropped it before into my track or my platform area. It took me an hour to find it one time. So I'm just getting the habit of putting it up here, because I gotta take more stuff off, and that way I don't kick it off or bounce it off or whatever. So this blade is still under tension. I'm going to release the tension, and there's a T handle right here, and you just doing it until everything frees up, and you'll feel it, and then you can just spin it. And then this blade guard right here has to come off. But you got to change these parts, or these blades. I don't put any Loctite or anything on the threads, obviously, but I do put them on there tight. Just kind of part of the learning curve is when I first started, I just kind of hand tighten them, not like super tight, and they would rattle loose. So now I tighten them pretty well, and they don't rattle loose. So this is a dull blade, but you know, take your own precautions, whatever that might be. This is just how I do it. I'm wearing leather gloves. old blade. Obviously, this was our first use blade, so definitely got a lot of life left. I'll just sharpen it and keep reusing it. Depending on what wood I cut with, I can usually get 30 to 35 cuts. Sometimes I'll stretch that out to 40. Alright, so the new blade just goes on like the old blade came off. The new blade is much sharper, obviously, so I would recommend gloves, but it's up to you. Okay, so first try. I don't always get that on the first try, but you got to make sure you're within the guide blocks right here for the blade. So I'm in there, and now it's just reassemble. So the tension is still loose. I'm going to tighten that up, spin it a couple times, just make sure it's in line. My mill, I've never had to adjust anything. Everything's been in line, but I've seen other mills. I actually went and looked at one for sale. This guy had to put OSB on the back side behind his big pulleys because he kept tracking off. And I mean, I don't know why he didn't, turn that in for a warranty, but yeah, I've had no problem. And that was an older HM 126, I believe. So maybe they rectified the problem since then. Alright, so now I'm tightening the tension back up there. And I'll show you here. It's got a little guide. So essentially, when this is flush with that, you're good to go. Play it by ear or feel. But for a new blade, I don't go super tight. I break it in a little bit, and then I do a couple quarter turns if necessary. So that's pretty well dummy proof. Too easy. Let's finish this up now. So I got my big fan going in the back. It's gonna be in the 80s today. That's a little warm, but with that fan, it really makes it bearable. Okay, she's getting tight. So like I said, what I like to do is spin it a couple times. Yeah, she feels pretty good. More try here. You definitely want the blade tight. I think that's good. Obviously, you don't want a lot of play right here. You'll start diving and getting a lot of wavy cuts. So hence the tension. All right, so now I'll just close her back up. So that first cut probably took me about 15 to 20 seconds. This will probably take me 3 to 5. It's a huge difference. I just hand tighten that one. Big enough knob to where I don't need to use the pliers. So that's all there is to it. Pretty simple process. So I'm going to get back. Oh, I want to show you this. All right, so I made my first cut. And before I bring the saw back, I need to remove that first cut. So it's just that easy. This won't go to waste. I know it's softwood. It won't go to waste. I will burn this, and I'll show you what I use to cut it up. So I made this. Alright, take two. So I made this to hold all my slab wood and keep it off the ground. it can get really out of control if you don't corral that slab wood. But this has been working out real good. So I'll just take my cutoffs, throw them in there, you know, and before this thing gets too full, I've got cutouts down here that I put in some 3x6s for my pallet forks. So I'll take this up by the wood pile, and then these are spaced out every 16 to 18 inches. Then that's what fits in my wood stove. So I'll just take my saw and I go right down there, my big saw, each one, and then I'll just unload it and stack it into the firewood stash. So I think I made mine 10 feet long. Yeah, it's just sometimes the pieces do go over, like that piece there, and I just saw it off. All right, let's get back to sawmill. I'm gonna keep you in real time for a little bit. I gotta flip this log, show you how I do that. I use the PVC because that wood just slides on that PVC instead of my log stops. It'll gouge into the bark of the wood, so it makes it a lot easier, mainly for these big logs, obviously. So I'll show you how to use my cant hook now to flip it. Well, that's never happened before. I'm glad I caught that on video. I didn't get hurt or anything, but now I need a new cant hook. I've had this thing for like 5 years, but it just saved my legs, so I'll just make up a new thing, put it in there. No big deal. But it's going to make it hard to finish this up. All right, time to use the tractor. Well, now I don't have my cant hook. I got to try to muscle this thing, or take the time out and try to fix it or get a new one. But I don't have a lathe. It'll be a whole lot of hand using, so let's give it a try. Like I said, this is softwood, so it's not the heaviest. All right, it's still heavy, but this was oak. I couldn't even move it. Not too bad. Take these back off so the saw doesn't hit them. I just store mine in my bunks. Alright, let's take another cut with the fresh blade. Alright, got two sides done, so the goal here is to get a square can. And I'm trying to get as wide as I can. So now I'll flip it over to a 90, make sure it's plumb, and take one of the other sides off. It's a little trickier without your can, that's for sure. Once it's on the flat like that, it's hard to lift it without the camera. My PVC. Okay, because I was raising it so I could get this piece right here, and then I was going to bring it back down. And so I have the power head, and my wiring I kind of ran under here just to kind of hide some of the slack, and that goes up to the battery. And because I went so high, my battery needs cleaning anyway, so it pulled it right off. So I got to repair this, so we'll come back. Okay, I just had to make a quick repair to the power head. Went too far off and yanked my power lines to the battery out, so get back to it now. So I'm going to flip this again. I'm trying to get some good boards and avoid the pith. Pith has got a little bit of rot, and that's really when it starts to cup and stuff too. Really missing my cant hook right now, but we'll get her done. Alright, so the saw is struggling a little bit more than I expected it to. I've cut this wood before, but if I remember it, I cut it when I first took it down. So maybe it has some more moisture in it. Right now, I think the blade is struggling to vacate the dust. So it's gumming up. I can feel it kind of grabbing. It's cutting, but it's just creating so much dust. Like I said, this basswood is real soft, so it's just like jamming in there. I'm going to do some math and see how much more I need, and and then I might come back and mill up some more. Otherwise, we'll proceed to the next step. That's to start making the shutters. So breaking the slabs down, run them through the planer, get them ready. I'm going to do board and back type of style shutters. Real simple, but I'll bring you along. Okay, we're up in the top of the barn now, which is my wood shop. It's quite messy, but it's because I do a lot in here and I just don't bother cleaning it up. So I got all these slabs done, and I ended up slabbing, let's see, cutting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 slabs. And I got my punch list right here, or my cut list right here. So what I'm making is 4 shutters that are 12 by 26 and a quarter, and 6 shutters that are 12 by 38 and 3/4. And I'm probably just going to go with 1/2 inch stock. Like I said, I'm going to do the board and back style, so I'll have 3 vertical boards with 2 horizontal boards. So I'll probably just put you on time lapse. I got to cut this stuff down, kind of get it ready for the planer, do some measurements and stuff like that while I'm working at it. I don't know how picky this is kind of a customer's order, my mother's. I don't know how picky she is on these exact measurements. I mean, 26 and a quarter, whatever. Divide that by 3, and those would be my slots, and I got to account for some space in between. So I'll probably just do a pencil width, see what that looks like. But that's what we're going to do. And like I said, I'm going to put you on time lapse. You just watch me work. Okay, I got all 10 shutters cut down to approximate size. I got tonight's date night, so we're going to go out for dinner and whatnot. So that's it for the day. Tomorrow I'm going to get back in here, start planing them down to 1/2 inch and put them together. So I'll bring you back then. Everybody have a good night. Well, good morning, back at it. Today I'm going to run everything through the planer, get it down to that final 1/2 inch, and start assembling. This should go pretty quick, so it'll be a quick time lapse, and we'll finish up today. Like I said, I got 6 at one size, 4 at another size. Real simple, 3 vertical slats and 2 horizontal. So I'll just assemble those and put them together. Put you on time lapse. Okay, back on the shutters, and I'm to the point where I'm going to assemble them. So these longer ones I think are 38 inches and some change. I'm going to actually put 3 of these across them. So I guess these would be sort of the battens or slats or whatever. On the smaller ones, they measure like 26. I'm only going to put 2. So now I'm just figuring out my spacing, and then I'll have like the first one done, and I'll blow through the rest. I'll put you on time lapse, but that's all there is to it. I'm just gonna put some glue on here and pin nail them and let them sit overnight. Customer is going to prime and paint them and install them on some rental properties. So, okay, everybody, I went and had finished up one. I glued it and nailed I guess cross members, and then I also drilled pilot holes, so they're ready to be primed and painted and then installed. I won't actually be doing that. The customer just needed a raw product, so they'll take it from here. But I wanted to show you how they turned out. Not too bad. I think they'll look even better painted and installed on the house. So this is just from my own tree that I took down a while back. It's all made out of basswood. That's why it needs to be primed and painted, just to survive the elements outside. So I got two other ones that are assembled, but the glue is drying and they're using up a lot of my clamps. When I get my clamps free, I'll assemble a few more. I don't really have a certain way of doing it. I got some clamps, I lay them down in there, and then I put spacers in between here. I was gonna do up a jig, but I only had a total of 10. If I had 20 or 30, then I probably would have done a jig. So, doing it just one by one. Each one takes me about 10 minutes. It's not really that long, not complicated at all. I've got my story stick to mark off these cross members, so that speeds things up a little bit. But like I said, when I'm ready to assemble more, I'll go ahead and bring it back. Okay, everybody, they are all done. As far as I'm going to take them, I just finished drilling the pilot holes on this last shutter. And again, this is the smaller one. Got the bigger ones over there just stacked up with some weight on them just in case some of the glue is still drying. So kind of backstory on this is the customer, i.e. my mother, needed some shutters. She was just going to buy them. And I had said, well, why don't I just make them for you? I've got the wood. We'll just do it that way. And she was all on board. It's kind of a win-win because I enjoy doing this kind of stuff from start to finish. Like I said, I chopped down the tree. I milled up the lumber. I cut the lumber down to approximate size. I ran it through the planer. I sanded it. Then I cut it down to finished size, and I assembled it. So like I said, I enjoy doing it. It prevents, just the whole consumption thing. I want to create more than I consume. So I want to just say thank you for watching. The few of you that do watch, I don't have any plans producing any kind of gotcha or clickbait or anything like that. I cannot stand most of social media, so my videos are not going to be swipe worthy, I guess, so to speak. But I just got to the point where I probably should have been recording a lot of my stuff from the get-go. I just didn't have the time. I had kids in school and all that stuff that goes with that. We moved out to the property. We lived in a fifth wheel trailer for 4 years while we saved up, and then we got the house. That's a whole nother story too, because we had to remodel that, and I did majority of that myself. But now I have the time, so I really want to stop watching YouTube and create content for YouTube. If you enjoy this kind of stuff, stick with me, subscribe, and give me a thumbs up. Like I said, I'm just getting going, but I hear that stuff really helps the algorithm. And I'll keep producing the content regardless, just because I enjoy doing it. Got into video editing just recently, and I'm pretty savvy with computers, so that was easy learning curve. So yeah, anyways, I'm just rambling now. Appreciate y'all watching, and I hope to see y'all come back next time. Thanks.